Hello everybody. This video is going to be a little bit different. Instead of chopping it up into pieces, when I do a recording, I record in sessions. So this one, I'm going to do the whole thing as one big long video. So I apologize if this feels like it's really long, and I'll try to. I think what I'll do is I'll put some chapter links along, so you can just jump right to where you want to see something specific. Anyway, let's see what happens here, and then. The first part of this video, I for whatever reason, when I was recording it, my GoPro recorded it sideways, and I didn't know it because I didn't, recorded, and then I didn't. And when I was putting this together, I went, "Oh wow, this is sideways." And so when I rolled it back over to be like the other ones, I lost a little bit of quality on it, and so that's why this beginning version is a little kind of blurry. But that's okay, because it's just faint lines anyway, and at this point I'm just really roughly shaping it all in and trying to figure out what the process is going to be. This drawing was heavily inspired by the Warhammer 40K universe, and what that is kind of it started out as a tabletop game, 70s or 80s or something like that, kind of like D&D, where you roll the dice and you have your little figurines and there's rules and you have battles and you have set up with elaborate figurines and areas and maps and stuff. It's pretty involved. And then it's kind of morphed into video games and lore and all these books and stuff. But kind of the idea with this was there's dreadnoughts, and what dreadnoughts are, you have the Space Marine guys, these soldiers. So yeah, these dreadnoughts are kind of rare, I guess. There's not a ton of them, and so the whole process, I really like the idea of kind of thinking of how it would look, and so this ended up being kind of a version of, like, I guess the skull is the last part of this super soldier, the spirit trapped inside of it, and the machine is interfacing with it somehow. And that's what kind of the parts are that are attaching to the skull is it's somehow interfacing it with it, and it's this super advanced technology. And the whole thing about Warhammer 40K is it's, I guess the timeline is in 40,000 years from now, or even 40,000 years from when they call it the golden age of less advanced technology and society, and there's just people spread across all over the universe, the galaxy, and in the timeline of where the game is kind of based off of is way well into the future. So the Space Marines, they battle, they battle aliens, they battle these creatures that look really organic and biomechanical thing, or they battle orcs, or they battle other Space Marine guys that are kind of like an evil faction, and so there's all kinds of different things, versions of the factions that fight. And I don't know what faction this one specifically belongs to. It's not really important, but kind of like the whole idea of it is really cool. So kind of the main concept with these Space Marine guys is they are heavily genetically modified humans, and they have upgraded parts. They have 2 hearts. They have all kinds of stuff, and they have super duper strength, and they're huge. And then they wear this armor that enhances their strength and gives them super armor, and then they go and battle all this stuff. And so some of these soldiers are, end up being leaders or carry on. They have such a good will, and those are the ones that usually end up being put into the Dreadnaught sarcophagus. And I guess by the lore, I'm not a super. I am by no means a Warhammer 40k expert, and there's people who definitely explain it way better than I could ever do it, and they have really nice videos. But just kind of the general idea is these guys are put in the Dreadnaught machine, and I guess most of the time they're mostly alive still, and there's the lore is it's a super hugely painful process that hardly anyone survives it, and that's why only the people who can survive it are these Space Marine guys, because they're already genetically modified to handle it. And because they're super heavily genetically modified, they have really, really long lifespans in this universe. And so they have this kind of like this super morale code. They follow what they, their morals and their honor code. And the ones that kind of want to follow it, even in death, the ones that are super strong-willed, those are the ones that get put into Dreadnaught. So when I have my GoPro going on these time lapse, the screen only lasts like a couple seconds and then it goes to a black, and so I don't even look at where the camera's, I don't see what it's seeing. I just kind of just go, and I get really in the zone. I'm drawing, and so that's why I'm kind of moving the paper all over the place, because I'm not really paying attention. And that's why I have those blue pieces of tape on the desk I have, is that way I can kind of keep myself somewhat aligned. And I think on this picture, because it was a longer picture, I really kind of forgot to keep it in line with the tape. And so when I'm spinning around and looking at details, drawing on the bottom of the paper, I kind of had a few, a bunch of it where I was either drawing off the screen or very bottom of the screen. And that's why I'm not really paying attention to where the camera's seeing. I'm just kind of going along, and I may have to, scoot down a little bit to look at more detail, trying to keep my head out of the picture, because it blocks the screen. But so that's why I kind of pull it down towards me so I can look at it closer. And I try not to. I try to keep it so the camera can kind of see what I'm doing. So when I was designing this, I really like the idea of this super high advanced technology with all these like syringe parts and these interfacing wires, or whatever they are, kind of versions. And then you have this weird green stuff, and it's kind of like a mystical technology. Is it undead? Is it, who knows what it is? And then it's almost like these spires, or it looks like a castle kind of on the bottom part of where the skull's at, where it's kind of mounted and hovering, and it ends up being kind of very castle, or even like a cathedral feeling. And I guess a lot of the Warhammer 40k universe, it's very heavily exaggerated cathedral things, and even the ships look like these giant cathedral churches, and there's a lot of things like that. And so I put that in there, and I guess there's this voice box interface. It could be a microphone, it could be speaker or whatever, but it also kind of almost looks like a castle gate drawbridge, and then so it's kind of a double meaning there. And then the wires could be part of the moats, or they're just wires, kind of just multiple meaning. And I thought it was really fun to kind of make it look like both in a way. One of the interesting things about rewatching time lapse is I start seeing weird little habits that I have that I don't even know that I do, like the weird thing where my left hand, I move it all over the place, and what I'm doing is I'm just holding the paper kind of tight, so when I'm drawing my lines or erasing, I don't wrinkle up the paper, and it looks like I'm pointing at random things, or I'm doing weird gang symbols, or or making weird gestures with my hand, and it's not intentional. It just looks like or all I'm doing is just trying to hold the paper, and I'm spinning it around, and the reason why I spin the paper a lot is because when I'm drawing lines, I draw a lot more stable, steady line if I can go left to right, or in an angles, instead of going from right to left. I noticed when I go right to left, I can get a little shaky in my lines, my pen lines, and if I'm trying to do something specific, like do a border or line, or an outline or something, or putting in a detail, I don't like to have that wavy line, and so I'll spin the paper around, and that's why you do these. It looks like I'm spinning the thing around like I'm flipping a pizza, but I'm just doing my drawing and my lines, and because it's time lapse, it looks like it's going really fast. But for when I'm actually drawing, I'm just kind of just holding the paper and moving it around as I do a line here and there. So I've kind of talked about it in another video, but a lot of the times the music choices on my videos are, I kind of go for a mellow feel, background music that doesn't really take away from things, and I can have, I don't toggle a whole lot on these, but I want to have it so I can talk over, and it's not a huge distraction with the background music. And so, I kind of go through, and that's why a lot of the stuff I have is kind of mellow, I guess, this lo-fi kind of music. But when I'm actively drawing, or drawing for on these things, I almost always have some high tempo, high loud music, kind of not blasting, but pretty aggressive sounding music, and it's all copyrighted or whatever, and so that's why I'll never use it. I can't. But it's a whole different feel. It's a lot more aggressive than when you're watching these videos. When I'm listening to is as a pretty fast tempo, and so a lot of times when I'm drawing, I'll actually kind of draw to the tempo. I do the lines kind of to the beat, almost like I'm dancing with my pen. So this whole thing ended up being, I think, nine parts, or eight or nine parts, and I drew this over, I don't know how long. Each drawing part was, I think I recorded, some are like an hour, some are like 3 hours, or various things, and so, and then record a session, and then come back, and I just put it all together as one piece. But that's why when you watch it, that's why you'll see that sometimes I'm wearing a hoodie, or or a sweatshirt, and then sometimes I'm not. That's why, because this is over. I think this was over like a 2-week timeline. So because of the timeline of this universe, 40,000 years, or even double that or triple that or whatever. So I guess in the lore that they don't really come up with new things, new technology. They just kind of use what they have, and all this stuff is repurposed, repatched up, repaired, or whatever. And so all the power armor and all the dreadnoughts and the armor and the weapons are all just reused from things from before, and so they'll be used by multiple, I guess, generations of these space marines. And so because of that, I like the idea of making all the metal look very pitted and hammered and scratched up, and it's not, it's very mangled and repaired, and so that's why a lot of the texture on the flat areas are just, I wanted it to look very, very rough. And so do that. I like to do that with on the pen lines, these little lines, these little little half circles or half moons, and then little dashes and that. And then I use the gray to kind of help make it look dirty and also look like maybe the paint is chipped and dented and then some white highlights or later on highlights. Just like the idea of everything being really, really rough. So when I was doing the coloring for this, I kind of originally thought what I was going to do was kind of do a blue, like back light, and then have red light, and that would be kind of the mystical light. But then the more I thought about it, the more I think it would take away from it, because it would make it feel very demonic and maybe even gory or whatever. And I wanted to have it very mechanical feeling, so that's why the green came about, the green and blue, because I wanted it very mechanical feeling instead of the red. But the red, when I look at it later on, I think the red could have made a good contrast on the outer shell armor, I guess. Once you get past the middle parts, that one I kind of struggled on. I didn't really know. I went through a couple different versions of how I wanted it to be. I didn't know if I wanted to be an open lid, be able to close or not. And then the more I thought about it, like, no, it's sealed up for kind of permanent. After he's infused into there. But I could have done green or red on the outside, and then for the armor, I didn't really know what faction this kind of would be, and I don't know the lore super well, so I just kind of made up my own colors. So I like the idea of the green and the brass kind of look. Kind of not anything specific, just kind of I thought it would be kind of neat to do that. And then also there's that little symbol, the little skull, brass skull with the little wings. That was another thing. It was like it's not any specific symbol to any of these factions. I know some of the Warhammer 40k people will know all the little details, and this is specifically not. I even looked up what the real symbols were to kind of stay away from them and have my own kind of little version. And all that is just kind of flavoring for details, just to kind of break up the flat plates. I wanted to have little details and stuff in there. So when I started this, I never really fully intended it to be a full paper. I just kind of wanted to do just the middle area, and all this was coming up with a concept art. I did a painting like this, kind of similar to this years and years ago, and I was kind of thinking I wanted to revisit that and kind of come up with a different way to do it. And I really just got kind of carried away with it, and I just kept going, and then ended up doing the whole paper. I think I kind of was losing steam towards the top and the bottom. Ended up just kind of like, well, let's just finish this up. And because this was just a concept, I didn't really do a lot of. I think at the beginning I was using straight lines for referencing or whatever, but I didn't really use any rulers for any of the lines of armor, and I never really intended it to be a full finished thing. I just kind of went with it. But if I was going to redo it, I think it would be nice to do it as a painting and airbrush and do a really nice job making the straight lines a lot more accurate and just, I don't know, more finished. But this was still a really fun project.